Okay, so this is what we did last time. Now what we're going to look at is multiple methods. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to change this to main1, so that's no longer the main, just so we can run from the next package or from the next class that we create. Alright, so just to look at multiple methods. Now, multiple methods basically allows us to set up small little bits of code that will do particular things. So let's first make our main. So remember, once again, we've got our access modifier public static void main and our string args. Right, so everything that's inside here now is going to be run. First, let's just test this because we're going to have to set the new one. Okay, remember, if this happens, we just close everything down, or close all of these, open up again, open up multiple methods, F11, and there it is. Okay, so if it's not showing up the main that you want, we can just do that. Alright, so there we go. Cool, it's working. We've got our test running there. So, first thing to do, from our main, let's just put here, this is where the program starts. Right, so we can either put it at the bottom, above or below. Because Java is compiled, it doesn't really matter where we put it because it's going to put everything into bytecode in the first place, or put everything into bytecode anyway. But let's look at then how we make methods. So methods can have return values. If we just make another public static void, let's just do this one. Let's call it print hello. Right, so the aim of this method, when we call print hello, is it's going to print hello. Very surprising there, I'm sure. Right, so to call this method now, what we need to do is inside our main, because remember the main is what gets run every time, is we're then going to call print hello. Now you can see there we don't have any parameters, and so it doesn't matter. And so if we now run this, it says start, it then runs the print hello, and that print hello then prints hello. This is just for normal void methods. Then we can create an integer method. So once again, public static void, we're making an int, so public static int. So this means it's now going to return an integer. And so let's call this the add method. And so all that this method does is going to take two parameters. And so parameters is what we put in the brackets after the method declaration. And we're going to take two values. So let's call it num1 and num2. So the point of this whole method, you can see there, it sets it up as our parameter 1, parameter 2, and return. We'll get to the return now. So the aim of this will take two values and add them. Right, so we now need to take these two values from the parameters. And so I'm going to set up two local variables. We'll get to global versus local variables now. This isn't necessary, but I'm just going to do it for explanation's sake. Num1 int n2 is equal to num2. Right, so when we set up this parameter, or when we set up this class, when we set up this method, it's then going to take these two values, num1, assign that to n1. Take the value that we put in at num2, assign that to n2. Then we're going to make our total, which basically, as the method name suggests, is going to add n1 and n2. We then need to return that value. So basically, we're going to return total. Right, so what does this do now? So if we go to our main again, so we're going to go all the way back up to our main, we're printing hello, and then we're going to add these two values. So I want to assign it to a local variable within the main so we can print it out. So we're going to say int get add. Once again, this is just a parameter, a variable within the main, and so we can assign these two values then. So we're going to say add. Now we can add 4 and 5. Right, notice there how we put it in. So that add there is now taking that number 4 goes to num1, number 5 goes to num2. It's then going to go through all of this and return the value of total to the variable here, get add. We can then print that as get add, and so when we run that, you'll see there it gives us 9. Now we can do interesting things with this. We can also then print this out to say SOP, and now we're going to actually print the values. So n1 plus n2 is equal to. If we don't want this to add a line, we can do that. We just need to then add, because we actually want to print the plus in there. So it prints the plus, then we add n2, and then we want to actually print the equal sign. So what's going to happen now is it'll print this line, then after that line, print that line, and so what we'll get is where it says 4 plus 5 is equal to 9, and so that does the 4 plus 5 is equal to, and then right at the end we just put the get add, which actually gives us that value. What you can see here is that a new line is not added there. That is because we used just print, not print ln, because print ln puts a /n at the end of it. So if we did this now, we'll see then it puts the 9 at the end. If we get rid of that /n and the equal sign, then puts everything back in line. If we did this, ln there, we'll see then it does that again. And so we don't want that to happen. We just want it to print out the sum as is. Now the nice thing about all of this is we can take these methods, instead of doing all of that, and we can repeat it and make it now multiplication. So you see there, I've now copied it. I'm going to put param1, and this one is now going to multiply the values. So we're going to change this then to times, and change our plus over here and make that become a times. So now times in the two values, which means we also need to change that times. And so we've now made all of this, and we can then put it back in the main. So remember, now I'm going back to the main method. So now we can do a int get times is equal to times. We put our two values in. Let's do 4 and 5 again. And so our value then times will be sending 4 and 5 into here, into times what? num1 and num2. Oh, spelling. There we go. Okay. So we're taking those two values and adding them up, or we're going to multiply them now. Go back to our main. We've got our get times. We can then print it here. System .print ln, and we're going to print get times. So remember, because it's just returning that value of multiplying these two, get times is just going to be equal to now 20, and so it'll put in n1 as the 4, n2 as the 5, show us that we're multiplying the two values, and then print the result, and so that will then give us 4 times 5 is equal to 20. Okay, and so that is using different methods inside a single class. We will get to using external methods shortly, but that's the general idea about using different methods inside one. This just allows us to do extra things and helps us, or allows us to repeat, because now we don't have to put all of this information every time we need to add two values. We can just call this add method and get it to add those two values.